Okay, good morning. So, yesterday, we spoke about, the last 2 days, the chitzoni, the pnimi, and the makif. The internal, which is the way something experiences itself as a recipient of whatever content it's receiving from the level above it. The chitzoni is the external, the way it will express whatever it receives to the level below it, the way it interacts with the world outside of it, and the makif, the context in which it exists, and essentially it's Hashem's desire for its existence. Just before we go to the next thing, just not an aside, but it's just an interesting
observation,
continuation of the discussion that I wanted to share. Didn't ran out of time, which is how all of these things play out in our avodas Hashem, in our service of Hashem. You have the externality of the mitzvah, which is the physical performance of it. That's the way you're doing it in the world outside of you, saying the words, doing the action. The pnimi, the internal, is the way you feel about it, what feelings you put into it. Love of Hashem, fear of Hashem, how much you appreciate that mitzvah means you appreciate Hashem, and so on and so forth. Right? It's the internal. And the makif, the context is, well, this is what Hashem asked. And that's equal of all mitzvahs. Right? And every mitzvah, good morning, every mitzvah should have all three. A proper balance between all three. The chitzoni is the mitzvah, the physical action. The pnimi, the internal investment, my feelings about it. And the makif, the context, this is what Hashem asked. This is what Hashem wants. Just a thought. Okay, the next thing that comes from this, good morning, that dovetails into this whole discussion is three things actually. And they're expressed in the following line that will repeat itself throughout Tanya. So if you go to page 13, I'll show you the line. In the Hebrew, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Six lines down from the bottom of the page. The last word, eich.
from the bottom?
From the top, I'm sorry. The last word on the line is eich. 6 lines from the top of the page, the last word on the line is eich.
Yeah.
So he's referring to, here, this is the first time he's introducing the mechanism of the neshama, of the soul, and describing chachma bina das, the mind, and then the heart, and how the mind can create feelings in the heart by contemplation and meditation, etc. That's what he's discussing here in chapter 3. So he says, when the person considers eich, how it is, who, that he, God, is, number 1, MEMALE kalaman, he fills all worlds. Number 2, SOVEV kalaman, encompasses all worlds. And number 3, KULA, KAMEI, KELO, CHASHIV. Everything in front of him is of no value. Translated in English, he fills all worlds, encompasses all worlds, and in his presence, and the presence of whom everything is considered as nothing. These are 3 levels. These are 3 terms used multiple times throughout Chassidus, throughout Tanya, and often all 3 together. When he's talking about, he wants to make the point that if you consider the following, then you can lead to the following conclusion. So I'll begin by saying, you think about, he's MEMALE kalaman, he's SOVEV kalaman, and KULA, KAMEI, KELO, CHASHIV. He fills all worlds, he encompasses all worlds, and everything in his presence is nothing. Sometimes they'll say 2 out of the 3. He fills all worlds and all is nothing in his presence. Or he encompasses all worlds and everything is nothing in his presence. Or he fulfills all worlds and encompasses all worlds. That's the third one. Right? But throughout Chassidus, you'll have, throughout Tanya, and Chassidus in general, you'll have this phrase used as a way of introducing some meditative subject about Hashem. Okay. Now, the concepts of MEMALE and SOVEV are discussed explicitly and at length in chapter 48. KULA, KAMEI, KELO, CHASHIV is not described at great length there. I guess you could say it's in 20 and 21. That's where you'll find that. So there are 3 levels within Hashem himself, within divinity itself. And at each of these levels, the world's existence and relationship to it is different. Yeah. So 2 out of the 3, we should already know from our discussions of the last 2 days. And I'll just elaborate on them a little bit more briefly based on chapter 48. So the first is MEMALE Hashem fills all worlds. That would be equal to, using the language of the last 2 days, the Pnimi, the internal. He fills everything. And then the second, SOVEV Kalamim, he encompasses all worlds, he surrounds all worlds. That's Makif. Yeah? Which means, sorry?
No, thinking about
how that plays out. So let's just spend 2 minutes, because we already spoke about it a lot in terms of Pnimi and Makif, but I just want to talk about it for 2 more minutes, and this time speak about it in more broad terms, in the sense that now we spoke about Pnimi till now, we spoke about it in terms of one particular creation, how it receives something, absorbs it, and then interacts with the world outside. Now I just want to speak about it for a minute in terms of the way Hashem expresses that on a global scale. Okay. So you've heard this analogy from me before, but just going to review it very briefly. It's an analogy that works for both SOVEV and MEMALE. And the analogy is, if you wanted to, you've heard this from me before, I think, if you wanted to fill up 100 vessels with water, right? You have 2 options. Option A is to go to the sink and turn the sink on and fill up each one. And option B is take them all and dump them in the ocean. So in both instances, the cups will be completely full. And in fact, in the ocean, it might be more full than at the tap. Because if you fill up a cup at the tap, which is a hole in the cup, it's only going to fill up as far as the hole goes. Afterwards, it's start pouring out. You take the same cup with the hole in it and throw it into the ocean, it'll be completely and fully full, right? But the difference, really, the main difference is filling up from the tap is an analogy for MEMALE Kalamim. God fills all the worlds in the sense that the tap has to, so to speak, consider the size of the cup, the nature of the cup. Can it handle hot water? Can it handle cold water? How flimsy is it? Should I turn the faucet on full blast, or is the cup going to rip through because it's so thin? Or should I do small little trickles, right? How much symptom, how much contraction is needed for that particular vessel, right? And that's the way Hashem invests himself into creation, where every particular creation, Hashem asks, so to speak, okay, how do I want this creation to exist? Okay, then I'm going to extract via multiple tzimtzumim, multiple contractions, the exact energy required for that particular cup. Whereas when it comes to the throwing all the vessels in the ocean doesn't consider whether or not the vessels are there. They're irrelevant. All you need to do is allow them to be there. And that's Makif. Hashem decides, I want you to exist. That's the beginning of the story. Right? This we spoke about until now. SOVEV Kalamim. Yeah.
With this analogy, right, the third element would be...
We'll get to the third element in a second. Yeah. Okay, that's why I'm going, reviewing this idea, good morning, because to get to the third point, I want to go through these 2. So, what we should understand now is as follows, and this is a little bit counterintuitive, but hopefully in the last 3 days of learning and what we're saying today will help us understand this. We often think of the primary, like if you were to be asked, between MEMALE and SOVEV, which one's primarily responsible for the existence of everything that exists?
I have to say MEMALE.
MEMALE. That's what you would say intuitively. Why? Explain.
Because everything exists because it has to have the right amount of energy poured into it
Exactly.
to exist.
Because this energy interacts with that creation in a very particular personalized way, right, that gives that particular creation its particular version of existence with a measured and thought out, considered measure and type of energy, so then that would be responsible for its existence. Yeah, that's what you would think intuitively. Mm-hmm. And you're correct. But
like we said, we spoke the analogy you gave yesterday with oxygen, right? You could breathe in all you want. If there's no oxygen surrounding you, you can't go through that process in the first place.
So the fact that Hashem says, I want you to exist, is even more responsible for the existence of existence. Yeah. Because that Hashem's wanting to exist, it doesn't exist. So MEMALE's role is the type of existence. That you exist, That's going to be SOVEV's consequence of SOVEV. I want you to exist. That's why it exists. The type of existence, okay, that's going to come second. Right? So I want to show you, let me find that line, and you will see it inside. It's in chapter 48. Okay, it doesn't say it here. Okay, I'm not finding it here. Anyway, so there's two things to be said that comes out of this. Number one is you're appreciating how each of these levels, SOVEV and MEMALE, the Makif and the Pnimi, play a role in existence. MEMALE tells you what type of existence is going to be, but SOVEV is the one that says that should exist at all. Hashem's want for it to exist, which is equal in all creation, is why it exists, period. And then the way in which Hashem invests in it will tell you the type of creation it's going to be. That's number one. And number two, I hope we're getting a sense after understanding this, that we shouldn't think of these two levels as two distinct levels, one from each other, as if there are two, God forbid, two gods, like one's SOVEV and one's MEMALE. It's one singular Eibishter. It's not even two lights, it's not even two odas, it's not even two energies, it's one. Right? One is extension of the other. So let's put it this way. Hashem says, I want you to exist. Okay, so you exist. And then what does Hashem say? Well, what type of existence do I want you to be?
Right.
It's a separate want. There's one want for you to exist, and then another want comes from some left field and says, I want you to exist in this manner. No, it's one's an extension of the other. So, exactly. So the level that says, I want you to exist is an all-encompassing want. And the level that says, I want you to exist in this particular fashion is a tiny extraction of that want. So MEMALE is a ray of SOVEV. The Pnimi, that which goes internally, is a ray, an extension of that which encompasses. We shouldn't imagine that they're two separate lights. They're two separate energies. It's one. There's one which is the primary manifestation of Hashem, which is a desire for existence, remains transcendent of all of existence. And then from that is extracted a tiny sliver for this particular creation to exist in this particular way. Because Hashem wants you, that word want again, to exist in this particular fashion. And therefore he'll extract from his energy a particular light for that in this particular fashion. But it's all one and the same oil. We shouldn't imagine it's two different oils. Be clear? Sorry?
So what you asked this question, which one do you think is more important?
Exactly. That's why I asked the question, because I want to push to the point that they're both correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Or both are necessary.
Both are correct. And then when you understand that, you say they're both really one and the same.
Okay.
In the language of Kabbalah...
So why do we even separate?
Sorry?
Why do we even
We separate them because of our relationship with it. Our relationship is going to be very different. Our relationship with Hashem's investment into me as I am as a creature is very internalized and very personal. Because here's how I feel, here's how I exist, here's how I understand, here's how I appreciate, here's how I operate. Right? But my relationship to Hashem's transcendence is transcendent. You want me to exist? Okay, what else can I say about that? I have nothing else to say.
Right.
So it's more about my relationship with it than it is about Hashem's view of it, which is again important to understand that. Because from Hashem's view, it's all one.
And so that...
Because it's also an extension of himself.
So to label it with our terms, you're saying our relationship with MEMALE is much deeper than our relationship with SOVEV.
Deeper in the sense that it's much more internalized.
Right, well, much more felt, much more day to day.
It's personal, right?
Okay,
that is
correct.
The relationship. The other one is you really have to be Mizbanin, even to realize that you have it.
Oh, very good. Very good. So this will talk about that fact. That in order to get to understanding SOVEV's existence, you have to really think about what MEMALE is.
Right.
When you really think about the fact that Hashem invests energy for you to exist in a particular way, you have to eventually come to the conclusion, well, Hashem decided that he wants that thing to be. Now, once you start touching about that Hashem wants it to be, now you start to see it, you want everything to be. And now you're starting to touch transcendence. So yes, you have to work your way through understanding MEMALE, Hashem's investment into the particulars of creation, to then conclude that actually you're beyond creation and you just want it all to exist in this particular fashion. Right?
Yeah.
Very, very, very good. Now, why is this so? What did I want I wanted to do this, and how this is necessary to understanding the third level, KULA, KAMEI, KELO, CHASHIV. Because what we're also getting a sense of is now that even SOVEV, which transcends all the worlds, is still related to the worlds. It's transcendent of all the world, and they say where the ocean is transcendent of all the cups. But the ocean water that's transcendent of all the cups is also filling the cups. And the cups exist in it. Right? So, even SOVEV, which is transcendent of all creation, it's transcendent of creation. I want all this to exist. So it's I want, it's beyond any particulars, but what do I want? I want all of this. So I'm not completely detached from all of this. It's true that SOVEV is transcendent of creation, but it's transcendent of creation. Let me phrase it a different way. Without creation's existence, is there any need for MEMALE?
No.
It's a theoretical. That Hashem could, if he wanted to invest himself in finitude. But there's no reason for it to exist. Is there reason for SOVEV to exist if there's no creation?
Of course.
Think about it.
It's beyond it.
But what is SOVEV? We just explained it. Hashem says, I want everything to exist.
The desire, okay.
So it's not so clear. On the one hand, it's transcendent of all creation, but it's transcendent of creation. If there's no creation, what is transcendent of?
Right, exactly.
So it's true that it's beyond creation, and to say that it needs to exist without creation, maybe yes, maybe no. It's not exactly clear. Because on one hand, Hashem's want will exist whether creation exists or not. But on the other hand, if you're not wanting something, then what is this want? What are you talking about?
But if we...
But Hashem didn't change before and after creation, so whatever was there, and whatever is here now.
Okay, that's a good, right. But from our perspective, meaning from the way we see it, yeah, you're right about that in essence, which we'll get to in a second. Yeah, sorry?
If we continue with that analogy,
Yeah.
with the ocean, right? You throw a cup in or you don't. The ocean's still there if you throw a cup in or not. So
Right.
there's no comparison that exists.
Very good. Very good, because what you're arguing is Hashem wanting something, or Hashem's capacity for desire is a thing whether or not anything exists or not. It's true. Because it's transcendent of any particular. Yep.
But at the same time,
it's still transcendent of creation.
Because transcendence has to be
Relative to something. Correct. Has to be relative to something.
Right.
It's still a relative term. So the way Chassidus points, it says, it's take SOVEV, it's indeed SOVEV, it's indeed transcendent, but it's SOVEV kol almin. It's transcendent of all worlds.
Right.
So you're still adding the word world into that sentence.
Right. Yeah, the world something has to transcend.
Has to transcend something. So the world, the phrase of world still exists in that description, even though we're describing his transcendence. But then you get, which therefore means it's still not the ultimate level of Hashem. Because as Chassidus points out, this is a phrase that Chassidus uses, not in Tanya, but elsewhere in Chassidus, it's worthy to remember this phrase. Not this is the primary essence of God that he creates. The rabbi talks about this all the time. Yeah. God is a creator, he's not the creator. Right. If he didn't create, he'd still be him. Which means there's a truth about Hashem in which he's not even transcendent of creation. He's not even transcendent of creation. Because transcendent of creation still implies, as you're saying, a relative term to creation. So there's a level of Hashem's truth that creation is he's not even transcendent of it. It's an irrelevancy. Completely an irrelevancy. Because he is, whether there's a transcendence, whether there's an investment in creation, all of it. KULA, KAMEI, KELO, CHASHIV. All before him it's nothing. That's the third level. Follow that? Because it's not transcendent of Alman. It's all nothing. Whether it exists or doesn't exist, it's all nothing. Sorry, you're going to say something.
Yeah, maybe I got stuck in some mental floss, but this transcendence, are we saying, I don't want to use, for lack of a better term, does it apply like distance? Are we implying distance? Because...
what do you think?
Well, listen,
what do you think?
Well, because everything is a creation from Hashem, so if it's from Hashem, it's not is Hashem.
Okay, so distance in the sense of...
Distance in the sense of requiring a relationship.
Okay, so from my perspective...
If Hashem is one, then there's no relationship.
So you're asking from my perspective, right? From our perspective. From our perspective, it's very distant.
Right, exactly, and then the other side
from our perspective, it's very distant, which is why we're calling it SOVEV common.
Right.
Right? As Alter puts it, because we are not aware of it.
Right.
So because we're not aware of it, it seems distant. But from the perspective of the truth, is it far away?
No.
The cup may not be aware that it's invested. If you fill up a cup from the tap, it's going to be aware, so to speak, that the water's in it because it was empty. Now it's full. You dump it in the ocean, it's just inside of it. Doesn't like I'm not aware of the air that I'm walking around in, or I'm not thinking about the space that I'm walking around in. But the space I'm walking around is not far from me at all. It's very, very close, actually. Right? So Hashem's want for you to exist is not far away from you. We experience it as far away because we don't appreciate it, we don't think about it, we don't internalize it, and so on. So the fact that it's transcendent is only transcendent from us.
Right.
Is the point. From our perspective, it's transcendent.
So wouldn't a better term be separation? Because the implication is not on the distance.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
The
Good.
focal point is on.
We'll take that word. Yeah. We could use that. Yeah. Separation. And that pnimi, I can't be separated from pnimi ever. I'm always feeling the life that's inside of me. I may not be aware it's coming from God, but I'm always feeling the life that's inside of me. But the context in which I exist, not necessarily I'm always feeling. And like you said before, you have to work through the internal to discover, oh, Hashem is really transcendent of it. Right? But then we get to a third level, which also really, you have to go through these levels. Because once you appreciate that even the transcendence is transcendent of creation,
Right.
you also have to, even if you don't understand what it is, you have to accept that what Hashem is beyond what you can possibly describe. So if you can describe God as the creator who wants all to exist, then you have to say that's not the end of who God is.
Right.
Because the end of who God is cannot be that which I can articulate. Then it's not the true essence of it. So what am I saying about the third level? The first level I say you fill all worlds. It's a positive description. Even when I say you transcend all worlds, it's also a positive description. You're transcending all worlds. So what did I say in the third level?
The whole
I don't know. Everything is nothing to you.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying a negative description. I'm not even saying a positive description because I can't say a positive description about it.
Yeah.
I'm saying a negative. Everything in front of you is nothing.
That's why the ocean is a good description of it. That it just
So the ocean also conveys that a little bit.
But at the same time,
Yeah.
at the same time, if nothing existed, then there wouldn't even be Deus Hashem because there would be nothing to be
The
said about
only
Hashem.
value that anything has is because you chose it to exist.
Right,
In and of itself, it's absolutely nothing.
right,
In MEMALE and SOVEV, I cannot say that they are absolutely nothing in and of themselves. They're not in and of themselves absolutely nothing. They are the object of your want. They are the object of your investment. I couldn't say they're nothing.
right.
But at the third level, where Hashem himself, from that perspective, it is absolutely nothing, save for the fact that he just decided it's going to exist. Or he decided he's going to have a want for it, is more accurately put. He decided to have a want for this thing to exist. But save for that, it's of zero value. So it's a negative description. All is nothing compared in KULA KAMEI CHASHIV, before whom all is nothing. In other words, this is MEMALE, SOVEV, and etzem. The investment of Hashem into creation, transcendent of creation, and God's essence himself. And from God's essence itself, it's not even transcendent from creation. The way the rabbi puts it is beyond. He's not even beyond, he's beyond. Yeah. Okay, you say?
No, this thought comes back to Malchus. Because Hashem's kinship predates the existence of the world, right?
Yeah.
So how does he have kingship if there's nothing but kingship anymore?
So it's which means in that level already, the notion of existence and creation already exists. Maybe not the creation itself, but the notion of it already does. So the notion of otherness already exists, which means the otherness that will emerge is not nothing. It's the object of my decision. It's not nothing. It's only at the beginning level where there's nothing. Then you say all that exists is nothing.
But Malchus still exists there.
It doesn't exist there. It only exists by dint of the fact that you decided it's going to have it.
Okay.
Not because it has any value. Malchus' relationship to creation is a real relationship. It exists, it has visions, and it implements the vision. But Malchus' relationship to
nothing.
essence is the same thing as my relationship or the ant's relationship to Hashem, which is that it's all nothing.
Yeah.
Right? MEMALE, SOVEV, etzem. You're going to see these three languages all over Tanya. Contemplate these: MEMALE kalam, SOVEV kalam, and KULA KAMEI CHASHIV. And especially you'll see it in the Rebbe Memorim. When you read it in Memorim, everything's going to come down to the three levels. MEMALE, SOVEV, etzem. You're going to see it everywhere. Okay.
But these are really powerful tools and to help us learn Memorim and Sifas.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're appreciating the series. Thank you.
Well, I haven't learned one since, but yeah.
That's the point, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, have a wonderful day.